Alan Tucker is at it again, and this time he's ending the world. Wait, that can't be right. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask, and whenever Alan Tucker does a Kickstarter, I end up doing a video because I'm a big fan of him. He's one of my favorite writers. He's up there with Jeff Stevens, JVC Parry, and other people, a lot of other people, and he's doing Apocalypse, the complete Game Master's Guide to Ending the World. Now, if you don't know who Alan Tucker is, he is, for example, the brain behind Incredible Creatures, a book that I actually have a creature in, so if you want to see some of my writing, make sure to pick this one up, link in the description below. I've reviewed this on my channel as well. He's also the brain behind a book that I have yet to review, which is kind of like the follow-up of Incredible Creatures, which is Incredible Items. He's like the brain behind both of those books. A bunch of incredible items, and Alan Tucker always goes from a very original idea, and this time it is ending the world. By the way, I also have a review on the Pot-Bellied Adventures from the Pot-Bellied Kobold, and his name is also in here, and you see his name popping up every now and then in different modules and adventures, and he has a bunch of really great stuff on the Dungeon Masters Guild, Drive-Thru-RPG, and stuff. And now he's going off of the complete Game Master's Guide to Ending the World, which is what it says it is. It is a guide. It's kind of a Dungeon Master's Guide to running scenarios in your game that are around that apocalypse thing, hence the title, Apocalypse, of course. So they're looking for, in dollars, $7,500, and they are almost at $4,000 with 29 more days to go. So it's safe to say they'll probably make it. And this is what Alan Tucker does. He does a bunch of Kickstarters, and he does, like, they are always, like, smaller in scope in, like, whatever they're trying to raise. But it really, yeah, again, it looks really cool. Like, you should watch the trailer because it really says what it's going to be. So what it's going to be is, in short, a system agnostic, if that is a word. So a system neutral guide. So it's filled with tips and tricks and scenarios for you to run for, like, ending the world in your game. For example, I'm going to scroll down first before I do this. There's this entire team of people, people in the scene that have been writing a lot of D&D stuff and other stuff, and they are actually forming these scenarios, giving tips, giving like adventure hooks and story seeds and everything. So this is not really a 5th edition product, but you can use it for 5th edition, but you can also use it for Pathfinder. You can also use it for freaking 2nd edition or 1D&D or whatever you're playing at your table, which is absolutely great. And I cannot wait to see what it is going to end up being. And I can't wait to review it, have it right here on my table and review it for you guys. So before I go a little bit deeper into what they're saying this book is going to be, I want to look at the pledge levels really quickly because there's some great value in here actually. So for example, first you get, like, for $20 you get the screen version, which is the PDF version, but you also get files suitable for virtual tabletop and of course all stretch goals. So you get virtual tabletop maps for the scenarios that are in this book. For $45 you get the physical plus the screen, which is like the hardcover, the PDF, the files, and the stretch goals. But then you can also get the physical signed, which is a little bit more expensive, $75 for a signed physical copy, and the PDF and the stretch goals, and the map suitable for virtual tabletop. But then you can, what they say is the whole kit and caboodle. That's like literally what it says right here, the whole kit and caboodle, which is the Apocalypse signed hardback version. Right? The Apocalypse PDF version, map files suitable for the virtual tabletop, Incredible Creatures hardback. So this book, basically, Incredible Creatures hardback and PDF version, and the Incredible Items hardback and PDF version. Yes, the Incredible Items hardback and PDF version, which is also here on my table. And Apocalypse, I Survived the Apocalypse t-shirt and all stretch goals, which is actually really great value to have for a t-shirt. So you can really show your support if you want to have like the entire what they say, the entire kit and caboodle. I really like that word caboodle. So Alan Tucker has sent me a couple of page spreads from the book that are going to probably end up in the book. I know this looks a little bit weird in my screen capturing thing, but it's just the way it is because the picture doesn't really like fit. Anyway, now you can get an idea of what is going to be in the book. By the way, this zombie artwork right here is really scary, but this is a part about framing apocalyptic campaigns. And this entire part is like functions kind of like a dungeon master's guide to how to run zombie-esque campaigns, and I think it's really interesting. Let's just take a look at it really quickly. They just ask questions and they give you like tips. Some of the most important one is here: monsters are weather. This is something that I think is really important to state. Any fan of a zombie movie recognizes that the zombies themselves aren't the real story. That's so important to storytelling, and I see a lot of like beginner storytellers like dungeon masters really not grasping that concept of that the bad guy and whatever is not the story. They just function within the story. The real story is about the survivors and how living in a world full of zombies changes them. George Romero's classic 1978 Dawn of the Dead isn't about zombies. It is about a group of 4 people surviving in a deserted shopping mall with no way out, potentially for the rest of their lives. The zombies are just the backdrop. And this is the kind of thing we can expect from this book. This is really valuable information for anybody who just wants to sit down and read this information and apply it to their games. It's not like, oh, roll a dexterity save, or oh, make a check, or there's a trap here, or there's a thing here. It's more of a guide and a way of thinking about how to running these kinds of games, which is really cool because the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition, 4th edition, 3rd edition, it's really great to have a Dungeon Master's Guide, but always talks about like the general game, and they cannot really go really deep into a certain specific genre of the game, which they can't because the book will be this big. But now we have kind of like a Dungeon Master's Guide that does that for apocalyptic games, which is really cool. Where does the campaign start? In your apocalypse is your apocalypse just happening now, or has it happened in the distant past? Even if it happened long ago, a flashback adventure might give the players a fun first-person view of the coming apocalypse. This is something that I find really interesting. So you could set a D&D game 1,000 years or 100 years after a apocalyptic event. Something happened. Shadows took over the entire world, enslaved everybody, but then there were only like 1,000 people left, but they fought back, and now humanity is kind of like slowly getting back to their feet. But it is all after a apocalyptic event. This you could set it this way, but you could also play what they say a flashback adventure. It might give the players a fun first-person view of the coming apocalypse. If it is happening right now, giving the characters a chance to witness it themselves is a great way to draw them into the story. So going back 100 years, playing a 1-shot or a 2-shot or a 3-shot just to give people an idea of what this apocalyptic event might have been, and then going to your normal D&D game. These are ideas that are really valuable, and this is what this book is clearly going to be all about. This second spread is an example of one of the scenarios that are going to end up in the book, and is written and sent to me by the one and only Alan Tucker yet again. So you can kind of see the setup. Now this is, I'm going to summarize and probably murder it, I'm going to dumb it down really quickly. There is basically a person who had the gift of foresight, and they tried to escape like the people trying to use that person's foresight, so they went into the forest or something like that, and they started living there, but then people started gathering around that person, and then an entire town actually built itself to, like, with inns and churches and houses and hotels and whatever. There's an entire town around this, that formed around this person that had the gift of foresight. Now the person so there was also like a lot of tourism coming there in order to, because they wanted to take advantage of this person who had the gift of foresight. So, but then that person died, and now the city has a steady decline of tourism, a steady decline of people going there, and even some people leaving the city. And now there are shadows everywhere through the kingdom, there are shadows trying to kill major leaders. So what is going on is there was a right hand of this person who had foresight called Alamska Tendrick, if I'm not murdering that, Alamska Tendrick, and she basically has she found a Crucible of Shadows, and she's now using this in order to spawn shadows everywhere to kill important people because she has her own agenda. But what she doesn't know is that she's using her own blood in this cubicle, and every time it spawns a shadow. But what she doesn't know is that she's basically opening a portal to a kind of like a shadow realm, and now like rogue creatures are coming into this town and murdering and killing, and there's some really bad stuff happening. That is like in short what is happening, but as you can see, it is set up in a really interesting way. They have a location, they have a history, they have the names, they have the name of the most important NPC. They split it up into like what is the event, like really shortly, like what exactly is happening. Then they tell you which party is kind of responsible for what is happening. They give you a bunch of adventure hooks, like for example, the leader of the party's home nation has been attacked, and the only clue is a prophecy uttered over 20 years ago by someone named Alana. The party is tasked with finding out if there is more to the foretelling. So the original person with the gift of hindsight actually foretold what is happening, and so yeah, the party might investigate, and then they have this this NPC. They go into who they are, what they say, what they do, and what their agenda is. And that's not the way. What their agenda is and everything. So of course there's going to be more pages about the Crucible of Shadow probably, but this is kind of like an idea of how it's all set up. Again, they're not using 5th edition rules. They're not using any of that. They're just giving you the scenario. They're giving you the IDs, and basically you can run it for yourself. So taking an NPC, you can just take a stat block of an NPC from the monster manual or any other book if your players ever end up fighting them in your respective game. But also if you need shadows, for example in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, you just take the shadows from the monster manual or the awesome shadows from not Cobalt Press, North Games, the Dreaded Cursed Bestiary, which those shadows are way cool. So you can take those shadows. Also the same thing applies to like Pathfinder. Just take an NPC from Pathfinder, take an NPC from take a shadow from Pathfinder, toss it in your game. The scenario is there. They help you run the scenario. They give the right people the right names. They give you the hooks. They give you everything, the entire like mindset on how to run this. And I think this is a very interesting and original way to write a new book for tabletop RPGs. And that's basically all there is to say about Apocalypse, the new book by Alan Tucker and his team of incredible writers. I cannot wait to pick it up. I cannot wait for Alan Tucker to please send me a copy so I can review it on my channel, read it. And this is for me the kind of the book that I just want to sit down with and read. It's not like the book that I use for like deep preparation. It's just like getting ideas from some incredibly talented people and applying them into my games at my table, and maybe even running another apocalyptic gaming scenario for my table. Until next video, bye bye.